What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another episode of the Hoops All In podcast. I'm your host, Worlds Francois. As always, joined by Keith Bazin. Keith, what's up, man? How you doing? Long time no see.
Yeah, it's been a while. I'm good. We got a lot of things to talk about. We'll go over our small forwards, who's leading MVP, and some teams that are heating up as of recently since the trade deadline. So
Yeah,
I'm good. How
definitely.
about you?
Yeah, man, definitely got a lot to catch up. Had a busy week. Room change. Room is all freshen up. But yeah, we back here to talk some hoops all in. If you guys are new, don't forget to follow us on our social media platforms at hoops all in on Instagram, TikTok, and X. Also, don't forget to follow Keith's personal hoops all in YouTube page at Keith HAI. He does some great work over there as well too. So man, shout out to Keith for holding down the fort the past week or so. So yeah, let's get to it. So our first topic, we're gonna talk about the whole thing that has had the internet, the sports world buzzing. Where a couple nights, LeBron James straight up confronted popular NBA analyst Stephen A. Smith to his face, and pretty much we saw the words. Well, we didn't see the words, but we saw what he told Stephen A. Say, hey yo, keep Bronny out of his mouth. Don't talk about Bronny James. I believe Legion Hoop said this what LeBron said to Stephen A. Smith. Keep my son out of this shit, bro. I'm tell you one more time. I'm gonna tell you one more time. Keep my son out of this shit, bro. So then Stephen A. Smith next day on First Take said, yeah, LeBron confronted him about his son and that he doesn't want him talking bad about Bronny and this and that as a father. So, what do you make of LeBron James confronting Stephen A. Smith and especially what he said on First Take? And I believe he went on Gilbert Arenas podcast and pretty much kind of not doubled down but backtracked on what LeBron James said. Stephen A. Smith was all over the place doing like a world tour about that confrontation. But what are your thoughts about LeBron confronting Stephen A. Smith in the third quarter of a Lakers game?
Yeah, that was the funny part. It wasn't even at the end of the game. It was like a
Mhm.
timeout or like the end of the quarter or something like that. But I mean, I think this is really the first time LeBron has had to say something about Bronny, right? Since Bronny has, you know, the whole draft and him being drafted with the Lakers. But I mean, I mean, it's surprising, right, to see LeBron go after you because LeBron is a very mellow guy. He doesn't have a lot of issues with people. He's a very likable person, to the most part. But I think it was warranted because a lot of people talk a lot about Bronny because just of who he is, and he hasn't looked the greatest in the NBA, but I mean he was the 55th pick for a reason. He had the heart condition, right, during his, I think it was right before his freshman year at
Mhm.
USC
Yeah.
or during, and it was a scary time for their family. I mean, that's something that not people don't just come back from, and he had it super young. He was like 19 or something.
Mhm.
But I mean, he was the 55th pick. He wasn't the 18th pick. He wasn't the 23rd pick. He was pretty much the last pick of the draft, and there weren't many teams that were looking at him, right? I think the Warriors said that they actually were sort of interested, but they left him for the Lakers because that would be, that would be a crazy thing to do, especially from being, it being the Warriors.
Mhm.
But I mean, Bronny, again, he gets so much just because of the name that's attached to it. And if I'm being honest, whether he had the heart condition or not, I'm sure he would have been a pro. Like, he would have been a pro at some time. He would have made it to the NBA at some point, whether it was for playing for the Lakers or whether he had to stay at USC or go play overseas for a year till he got undrafted, something like that, and just signed. Um, Again, he's a prospect. He's a small guard. He makes a lot of mistakes, but again, he's a freshman guard and he's small. So he's got a lot of things he's got to go over, but it's not fair to go after him because again, he was one of the last picks of the draft, and there's plenty of second round picks that probably weren't even signed in this draft or haven't even seen a minute of real NBA basketball, and they're
Mhm.
just in the G League or they're overseas or something like that. And I think the one of the main issues too is because, right, he got a guaranteed 4-year contract right away, just because that's with LeBron. I think it was like 8 million over 4 years, so it's pretty much two throughout those 4 years. But it just, I think it was eye opening. I now are people going to stop talking about Bronny because of this? No, they're not. They're because there's people that dislike LeBron. There's people that dislike what he's doing, but it just sounds like he's being a hell of a father. So, I mean, I can't really be too upset about him confronting Stephen A because Stephen A's he's the biggest guy in sports media right now. He just signed $100 million contract
Mm-hmm.
not too long ago. So I think it was I don't blame LeBron for doing it at all. And I mean, Stephen A normally respects when this happened. Like some people have called him out, and he normally will respect it and not mention it or be as hard on it, just because he respects the his peers and the people he talks about. But yeah, I think it was just something. I think it was something that had to be done. And is it going to change anything? I don't think so. But it was, I think it's just LeBron being a good dad. So
Yeah, I think anybody in that situation would approach Stephen A. Smith as a father first, and I think Stephen A. said it on First Take and on an episode on his podcast that was LeBron James, the basketball player, that
no,
approached him. That was LeBron James, the father,
hmm
and the reason why, again, I can't speak for LeBron James, but I feel like the reason why LeBron James felt the need to defend Bronny James was because, again, I believe it was one episode where Stephen A. Smith was talking about LeBron and he was playing Bronny James lowlights in the background. That's what Nick Wright said. Don't know if that's true, but you know, knowing that LeBron and people got to forget this too. This got both sides. So we all know LeBron James, the father, going to come out defend your son. And as you mentioned, he almost lost Bronny James last year because Bronny James had that cardiac arrest. And
hmm
God willing that he's okay, he's fine now, he's doing well, but he's still recovering from that. That takes a year, 2 years, 3 years to fully recover. The man almost died. And so knowing the position that LeBron James in to a year ago, he almost lost his son. So he's already going to be ultra sensitive and very active in his innate instincts as a father to protect his son. That's what any active father in their life would do, is just to protect and make sure that your children are good. Now, some of this was brought upon by LeBron James himself. Because
hmm
again, remember that tweet that's now since deleted when LeBron said, hey, Bronny James is better than some
yeah,
NBA players right now when he was in high school. And
yeah,
now when you're a professional athlete where you're on television for millions to see, you are subject to criticism because again, they're going to critique your play on the court. If you're doing good, they're going to give you all the props. If you play like garbage, they're going to call you out. Okay, so just because Bronny James is LeBron James' son should not make him immune to criticism.
yeah,
And again, we've seen the dude's highlights. He's what, averaging 1 point a game. He's
yeah.
shooting about 25% from the field. His field goal percentage is hard. I'm gonna pull up Bronny James stats right now.
hmm
1.4 points per game, under zero point 0.4 rebounds, 0.4 assists, 20% from the 3 point line, and 26% from the field goal line.
Yeah,
Everybody and their mom knew that that man was not ready to be an NBA player. He
yeah,
needed at least an extra year or two at USC. Now, again, he doesn't have the height that his father does. LeBron is 6'8", 6'9". He's 6'2". He probably is going to have a late growth spurt. Who knows? But he's probably not going to grow anymore because he's 20 years old. Now, Bryce, it seemed to be the better of the two brothers. But this is my problem with Stephen A. And after that whole confrontation happened with LeBron James, he decided to go on this world tour. First, he went on the Gilbert Arenas podcast. He did 2 episodes about it on his own show. I think he did a segment about it on Fox. And he said on his Gilbert Arenas podcast that he thought it was weak and bullshit. And it's
mhm,
just like, but then the next day after that happened, completely changed it to him because he said he was feeling sad that LeBron James approached him. And even some NBA players no longer keep in contact with him and want to do interviews with him because they felt that he crossed the line when he tried to call LeBron James out as a father. This whole thing started on a January whatever episode when Stephen A. Smith said, LeBron, I'm pleading with you as a father. Stop. The minute you said that, I believe LeBron James no longer wanted to hear what he had to say because now you're
mhm,
not critiquing LeBron, the basketball player. You're critiquing LeBron, the father, how he maintains his household. And that's just the ultimate line that you do not cross. He's saying, yo, you could talk about my play on the court. You could talk about my son's play on the court. That's your job. But the minute you mention as a father, now you cross those lines. You're pretty much insinuating that that man is not doing a good job raising his children.
Mhm.
That's an ultimate slap in the face. And now you got Stephen A. Smith. After that happened, he went on First Take. Oh, I'm sad. I can't believe that happened. And then goes on Gilbert Arenas' podcast talking all tough, saying, oh, I thought it was weak. It was BS. But why don't you say that to the man when he came up straight to your face and told you, yo, stop talking shit about my son. Keep my
Mhm.
son's name out your mouth. And you sat back down like a little girl. You ain't say nothing.
Right,
See,
yeah.
Stephen A. Smith reminds me of those tough Twitter keyboard warriors. He has a lot to say when the microphone and cameras are rolling. But the minute he gets pressed about the junk that he was talking about, he quivers, he backpedals. And
Mhm.
then when the guy's no longer there, then all of a sudden he gets big and loud. He's a fake tough guy. That microphone and that camera have completely corrupted his ego. And again, it doesn't help, as you just mentioned, ESPN padded his bank account with a couple millions, just signed a new 5-year, $100 million extension. So now his ego is even bigger than it needs to be. His ego is bigger than his receding hairline, for crying out loud. But you just like, yo, you stand on it. You talk shit about that man. And when he come up and confronts you, you stand on it. This man has said multiple times, he's always courtside at the games. If players have a problem with what he says, come up and confront him. That's exactly what LeBron James did. He had an issue, what you said about his son. He came up and confronted you. And that wasn't a dialogue, that was a monologue. LeBron, there was a one-way conversation. He said, yo, keep my son's name out your fucking mouth, or else we're gonna have a problem. And he sat back down and he walked away. He ain't
Yeah,
have all that tough talk. You ain't tell him I thought that was weak. You ain't tell him that it was BS. Straight to his face. Why? Because you know what you gonna do with 6'8", 6'9", 250, 260? Nothing. So that's the only thing, with these NBA analysts. Like, I get it. It's your job to critique players. You got to be hard on them. If they're playing good, you give them praise. If they're playing bad, you call them out. But when you're saying, hey, if you got an issue with what I'm saying, come see me courtside at the games. And when somebody does come see you courtside, you get scared. And then
mhm.
you go back on, your podcast, your platform, and say, oh, I thought that was weak. I would have done this and that, all that tough talk. Like, bro, shut up.
Yeah,
He's a keyboard warrior. He's an internet troll. People don't take Stephen A. Smith seriously like that. But
y
that's all I had to say about it. I get it. LeBron is a father. I think anybody would have done that. But at
yeah,
the same time, you are an analyst. You cover the NBA. You can't just say one thing and then a couple days later you say something completely opposite. That's weak.
yeah. This is something I was saying on my, episode I just put out on my own channel about it, like, right, the media's job is to, you know it's to put out information and have their opinions on it, and, right, everyone has their own opinions, you can whatever, no one is gonna think the same as you, but your job isn't to um talk about the bad stuff, right? You can criticize, and for sure, people like Bronny need criticism at this young age. He's making mistakes. He's not, he's one of the worst players probably this season just based off stats and how he has been used. But as a media's job, it is to talk about the NBA or the NFL, whatever you're talking about, and give your opinion. But you criticize, but you don't talk about the bad. You say, "Oh, hey, this is whatever." You just don't focus on the bad things, and that's a lot of what the media in the NBA specifically is. I can't talk too much about other sports because I don't keep as in touch as I do with the NBA, but it's a lot of people, whether it's Stephen A, whether it's former players like on their like Gilbert Arenas, or Jeff Teague, or Evan, even the inside the NBA with Chuck and Shaq. I love them. They're funny, but they are some of the worst at talking down about players in the
Yeah,
league.
they're some of the worst analysts ever. They never really talk
They're
basketball.
funny, but like
Yeah.
they're funny guys, but again, they don't. It doesn't really seem like they watch too much basketball outside of when they're there, right? Like, because some of the things they say about some of the players is like, have you watched at all this season, or like have so but yeah, I do think that, though, that Stephen A normally in the past when I have seen things of like this, he normally does right? Like he'll be like, oh, whatever, I would have done that, but I do think in the future he is now going to tone it back on Bronny a little because even though LeBron stepped up to him, I think Stephen A will respect it enough to not, make it the whole point of an episode. I should never turn on ESPN and Bronny is on there, the bottom feed. Like
Yeah,
it can be a thing that you bring up, but it should not be the whole focus of a thing. I don't care if that whole hour long showing or them of time of them being live is about the Lakers. Bronny should not be on the bottom feed or whatever, whether it's a picture or whether it's a comment about him.
yeah. No, literally, definitely agree. And like you said again too, if Stephen A is going to critique Bronny in the future, which that's his job to do,
A
do
hundred.
not mention the words "as a father, LeBron James stop," because then no one's going to listen to what you have to say because all he heard was, "Oh, so you're trying to criticize my role as a father and
Right.
how I run my household." I think anybody who has kids would think that that's a direct slap in the face. It's like, yo, I got to check you because again, you look at Michael Jordan's son. Again, Michael Jordan's son not in the NBA, but they always have these GOAT debates. Who's the GOAT? Is it LeBron? Is it LeBron? Is it Jordan? That's pretty much the main focus every week on First Take because they run out of topics. And
Yeah.
then you're gonna criticize Bronny James again, rightfully so, because he's not playing good. We know his situation. We know the reason why he's in the NBA. But look at
Mhm.
Michael Jordan's son. That man's on crack. That man dated his ex. Michael Jordan's son literally dated a teammate's ex-wife.
Mhm. Yeah.
Well,
I
come
mean,
on, man. Come on,
again,
man.
criticism is warranted, but again,
You
talk
just
about things that he could be better at, not things he'll
yeah,
never be able to do.
yeah,
Whether it's Bronny or whether it's LeBron or Shea or anybody in any sport for anything. You don't like point out the negatives, but tell them how they get better or things that they could do to get better. Don't just say, "Oh, Bronny's never gonna get real rotation minutes as long as he's a pro," because then like what's the point in saying that? So
yeah,
I think whatever. So
yeah. That's crazy.
next we'll bring up the MVP conversations.
Oh yeah.
It's a thing we've talked about a lot recently, but I think
Mm-hmm.
with how this race is going, you kind of have to bring it up because the odds shift, right? I think
Yes. Yep.
at least for me, the last time we talked, and pretty much this whole season, I've had Shea as my MVP, front runner for now. Again, things can switch, and I think things have switched. I think Jokic might be ahead for me now, just a little bit. The um right, he had the 30-20-20 game, which I think definitely put him ahead, especially in the betting odds. But I think once the Thunder and the Nuggets played, they played two games back to back. They played on March 9th. The Thunder won 127 to 103. Jokic had 24, 13, and 9. And Shea had 48 and 5. And I think Shea got it back. And then they played literally the next day. Shea only had 25. The Nuggets won that game 140 to 127. Shea had 25, but Jokic had 35, 18, and 8. And then I think he's taken it back. And I think that is what I think he's holding it for now. Again, this is what I said. This is one of the closest MVP races. I think that since that I remember, I feel like at this point of the year, we had a pretty good idea in past seasons about who might win it. I really don't know who's going to win it. And right, like some people are so set on Shea because Jokic can't win a fourth MVP. He can't do what because basically if Jokic wins MVP this year, he did what LeBron did, right? LeBron won two, then Derrick Rose won his, and then he won the next two. But for Jokic's case, he won two. Embiid won that one, and then Jokic might win this year and last year.
Mhm.
So sometimes people think that, oh hey, getting more than three MVPs or more is like a really like a thing for the goats or like you have to be one of the best. But if Jokic is heading this way, I mean, Jokic is probably already a top 30 player,
Oh
at
yeah.
least top 30, top 20 player. I
Yeah.
mean, um, but I do think that Voters fatigue is it's a sucky thing. But it's how the NBA has been forever. And it's not going to change because whether we've seen it with everybody, we've seen it with LeBron, we've seen it with now Jokic, people that even after they win one or two, they start getting it, and Jokic is in that case. I think honestly, Giannis is in that case too, because while I don't think Giannis is in the race really this year, he could be. If the Bucks are better, I think he very well could be because he's averaging like 31 and 12 or something.
Yeah,
Like he's
something crazy. Yeah.
still doing what he's done the past 3 to 4 years, and even better than I think in his MVP years. So, um yeah, who do you have for MVP, and what and why? Like, are you a how are you judging your MVP as of today?
Whew. Oh man, this NBA MVP race is going to be extremely tight, man, because like I said, first we had Shea, and then Jokic puts up a crazy, like you mentioned, 30, 20, 20 game, and is averaging a freaking triple double for the
Yeah,
season, for crying out loud. And then he
yeah.
was like, okay, now Jokic is in the league. Then Shea comes back and beats him, drops 40 on him, beats him, and then they play the next night and they won. I still think right now it's Shea, but he has a hair because you look at what Shea's done.
Hmm.
33 points a game he's averaging.
Yeah.
5 rebounds, 6 assists. He's averaging he's shooting about 50% from the field, 37% from 3, and 90% from the free throw line. Also, not to mention this too, MVP has to go to who impacts the team most in winning. Right now, the
Hmm.
Oklahoma City Thunder have a clear lead, being the first seed in the Western Conference. They're on
Hmm.
pace to win 66 games.
Yeah.
The Nuggets are third at 42 and 24, with the Lakers and the Rockets trailing right behind them. Now, obviously, again, the Lakers struggle. They lost the last 2 games without LeBron, going to be out for the
Yeah.
week. But when LeBron comes back, they're still going to be in a nip and tuck race with the Lakers and Houston. But OKC, they're clear lead in first with everybody else is 12 games behind. So MVP has to factor, okay, that player has contributed the most amount of success to his team. Jokic, you look at what he's doing. Jokic right now is the unquestioned best player in today's game. But he has not his stats and his play has not translated to this team's success the way Shea's play has translated to Oklahoma City Thunder's team success. And
Hmm.
obviously, it's not Jokic's fault. But when you're on pace to win 66 games, a lot of people
Hmm.
felt he should have won it last year. But he won it. Jokic won it. And Shea
Hmm.
came back with the vengeance, try to win it this year. And look at I'm going to pull up previous Shea Gilgis stats. This man is literally a scoring bucket.
Yeah.
Last game against Boston, put up 34. Denver, you
Hmm.
mentioned 25. First, and then when they played Denver on March 9th, he put up 48 and 5. Then against Memphis, he put up 40. Then against Houston, he put up 51.
Yeah, I was watching the Boston Thunder game yesterday, and he leads the league in 20-point, 30-point, 40-point, and 50-point games. He
Yeah,
scored 54 times this year, and he never scored 50 before this season. So all his
it's
50-point games are from this year. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely the best scorer in the game right now. Or yeah, he's right because he's averaging 33 points a game. I mean,
mhm.
Jokic again, he 29, 13, 10. I mean, again, I can't be mad saying either way, especially as of right now because it's not being picked today. So,
Yeah.
but I agree with what you said. I talked about this as well that being the best player in the league does not mean you're the MVP. Jokic is the 100% the best player in the league, no doubt. Shea might be two. Some people might have him. Some people might still have Giannis as a better player than Shea.
Mm-hmm.
Um, But yeah, because if MVP went to the best player, I said this, LeBron would have 15 MVPs.
Yeah,
Jordan would
literally.
have like 12, so that's not what MVP is to me at all. But it's also not, you can't necessarily just give it to the best player on the best team because if we did that, Donovan Mitchell would be our MVP this year. Jason Tatum would be our MVP last year.
Yeah.
Um, and keep going back. I think at one point the Heat, a few years ago, the Heat were the 1 seed. Jimmy Butler was going to be an MVP. So that I agree. I think it's definitely a mix. I was saying this before, but to me, you have to be, unless it's an extreme circumstance, like I believe Westbrook and one of Jokic's previous years, they were like a 6 seed or something, 6, 7 seed. To me, you have to be a top 4 seed.
Yes.
Like, and both these guys are, so it doesn't really matter in this case. But like, and again, it doesn't really matter past the for the past two candidates this year, past them. But like, some people had like Wemby as like fourth in MVP.
Which is
Wemby
crazy.
was always, I think Wemby was never high. The Spurs were never higher than the 10 seed this year. His stats are great, but he's not an MVP. You know, he had like they were over guys like Tatum. Like I would rather Cat or like LeBron because they had good stats too, but their team was winning and they were the best players on those teams. So um I agree. Jokic best player in the league, but again, doesn't necessarily mean MVP. And again, it's a blend of those two things because again, you got to be a good team, but you've got to be putting excuse me, you got to be putting up numbers. So I'm gonna play. I'm gonna play devil's advocate because I've seen this online before. People have said if you took Jokic off the Nuggets and you took Shea off the Thunder would still be good. The Nuggets would be not good, right? The Nuggets don't have a back. The Nuggets have DeAndre Jordan playing backup center for them. As in 2025, DeAndre Jordan should not be playing minutes like he is. They don't really have a backup center. Aaron Gordon has missed a lot of time, and he's normally the guy that runs up like backup five when Jokic is out the game. Zeke Najee's been playing a little, but again, it's Zeke Najee. Like so,
Mhm.
what do you think about people saying that though? Because if you're being the most valuable, that would because right, do you agree if both of them lost their best player, the Thunder would still be a much better team if everyone was healthy?
I'm gonna still lean probably towards the Nuggets because they still would have Jamal Murray, who is still a fantastic player. The fact that he hasn't made an All-Star game is beyond me, but he's a very good number two. You have Michael Porter Jr., who is a knockdown three-point shooter, who's long, athletic, can defend. You have Aaron Gordon when he is healthy, again another 3 and D guy, and Russell Westbrook, who has had a resurgence with the Denver Nuggets, excuse me. And we've seen times when if Jokic is not playing his best, Russ picks up the slack and can easily get you a triple double. So you got four of those guys, potentially one who's definitely going to the Hall of Fame with Russ, but you got four guys who could legit get you 20, 25 points a night. And plus, they've won championships. They've been in the league longer, so they know what it takes to win. Compared to Oklahoma City Thunder, you got Jalen Williams, who's a stud, still good, still has some things that he needs to work on. You got Chet Holmgren, again, very talented big, probably going to be the top five big in this game when he's healthy,
For sure.
but still defensive liability. He's skinny. Who else is on that team outside of Chet and Jalen Williams that you could say, hey, get me 20 points a night? You got four guys on Denver who could get you 20, 25, but you only got two guys on OKC who could get you 20, 25.
See, but also I think it's past the starting lineup because the Nuggets bench after like Westbrook and like Christian Braun starts, so I guess he's not really a bench guy. The Nuggets bench is awful. I mean, the Thunder bench, Cason Wallace, Aaron Wiggins, Hartenstein, Lou Dort starts, Alex Caruso, some of their rookies. I can't remember AJ Mitchell's been fine, but to me, or at least to me, the Thunder would be a better team. But if you say if the Nuggets were a worse team, without having Jokic than the Thunder were with having Shea, is it like that means that Jokic would be the most valuable because he is bringing the Thunder up more than what Shea is doing because the Thunder would still be a good team without him. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I see what you mean by that. I'm not gonna lie, I see what you mean, but also too, I'm playing it. Okay, if we had these two teams that played each other in a
Mm-hmm.
7 game series, and both of them didn't have their best player. OKC didn't have Shea, and Denver didn't have Jokic. I'm picking Denver to win that series because again, based off experience, you got four guys who get you 20. Okay, yes, the bench is not great compared to Oklahoma City,
Mhm.
compared to OKC Thunder bench, excuse me. But no coaches really goes deep into their bench. They shorten their rotation come playoff time. They probably play 8, 9 guys. So would rather trust Westbrook, who's been to a finals before. I rather trust Jamal Murray, who's won an NBA championship. Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, Christian Braun, who's won an NBA championship, to get it done over those guys who doesn't know what it takes to be in those high pressure situations and win. That's why because it all comes down. The real season comes down to the playoffs. It's like, hey guys, no more regular season. You
Right, yeah.
win, you lose, you go home. So
Mhm.
that's how I look at it. Yes, Oklahoma City Thunder, they're more talented because they're younger and not all
Okay.
those guys are developed. Jalen Williams is like what, 22, 23. The
Yeah.
sky's the limit for him. He could be probably arguably the best shooting guard in the league in the next couple of years. Same
Mhm.
thing with Shet. But you look at everybody else in that team, you have got Alex Caruso, defensive guy, Isaiah Joe, still young, so much potential, but still is a raw talent. Outside of
Mhm.
those guys, okay, who else on OKC can you trust and say, hey, Shea's not playing. We need you to take over the scoring load that Shea was going to give. We need you to play 30, 35 minutes, 40 minutes, if not probably the whole game if it goes in overtime or so. So
Okay.
that's why I lean more towards towards Denver. If those two were to play in a playoff series without their best player, I think the Nuggets would win.
Okay. Alright. Alright, yeah, so as of today, you have Shea?
Yeah, I have Shea by hair, by a
Okay.
hair. I mean,
Alright,
like I said,
yeah,
it's
I
gonna
mean,
go down to the
literally
wire.
yeah, literally the same, just Jokic. Again, I like I said this before, but if Jokic has 2 bad games of, like, 28 and 5, and then Jokic has, like or not Jokic, if Shea has 240 pieces, Shea's probably back in the lead, the same
Yeah,
vice versa, right? Like,
yeah.
so,
It's
again,
literally it's
it's
gonna
so
be tell who's
close.
gonna have a bad game.
And to me, Shea had the nod for a long time because the Nuggets weren't that good. But a few days ago, when I was talking about them, they did steal the 2 seed from the Lakers. They did lose it again
Mhm,
since then. But the Nuggets, so it's not like the Thunder's the 1 seed and the Nuggets are the 6th or 5th seed. They're like even though the gap is big, right? The
mhm.
Thunder are going to secure the 1 seed. They've already clinched playoffs. So have the Cleveland Cavaliers. So they're the 1 seeds out there. But yeah, I think that it makes it harder because the Nuggets are creeping up to the 2 seed, too. So, but yeah, I think that again it can change at any point, and we just have to see. There's nothing we can tell when we can't tell until we see more time. I believe there's about 15 games left, between 15 and like 18 games left of the regular season, which is
Yeah.
crazy to say, but so speaking of
If the
playoffs, or sorry, go ahead.
go ahead, I just want to say if the Nuggets were to fall out and they let's just say hypothetically they fell to the 6th seed, because right now the West is just all discombobulated.
Yeah,
Grizzlies and Nuggets at this time right now have the same exact record, 42-24. Lakers
yeah.
right now behind them 40-24. Rockets right now are 41-25. The Warriors right now are 6 at 30-28. And the Warriors have been playing excellent basketball ever
Yeah.
since acquiring Jimmy Butler. They're 9-1 in the last 10 games. So if
Mhm.
Golden State was to surpass and maybe go up to that third spot and switch with the Nuggets and say, because Denver's going to be without Aaron Gordon for a couple of weeks with that sprained, I think, ankle. And let's just say if the Nuggets were to fall for the fifth to the fifth or the 6th seed, then I think that would be the linchpin to give it to
Yeah,
Shea
yeah,
because, like
definitely.
you just mentioned, if you got to be MVP, you got to be a top 14.
Yeah,
They gave it to Russ because that was an outlier. Obviously,
yeah, yeah,
KD left and he averaged a triple double literally the next season. But if
right.
they fall outside the top 4 seed, I think they're gonna give it Shea. That's the gonna be the
No,
nail in
yeah,
the coffin for
definitely,
Shea to get it.
definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
But if the Nuggets stay around 2 or 3,
If they
I think it
stay,
makes
then
it
yeah,
that
you
much harder.
yeah,
It
yeah.
just literally makes it
It's
that much
nip and tuck.
harder. And I really don't know what I would do if I could like, if I had a ballot to vote. I really don't know. Don't know what I would do. I mean, I know it's happened with, like, I think rookie of the year maybe, but, like, I would legit maybe look into doing, like, the dual MVP thing. I know it's never happened. It's happened with some other awards, like rookie of the year before, but, like, there's a case where you can you might have to like look into that because like they're different. There's so different like cases, a center that averages a triple double or a point guard that will drop 35 on you every game in 3 quarters. By the way, he like 80%, 85% of his total points this year come in the first 3 quarters of games. He really there's a lot of fourth quarters he doesn't even play or score that much. So it's just his scoring and what he does to elevate that team to where J Dub can still get his off. Chet when he's playing, Chet had like 22 and 15 or something versus the Celtics. So, Shea is one of the he's just one of the best players in the league, and he does it the scoring to where it doesn't hurt his other teammates. Like I kind of relate this to the James Harden couple
Mm,
years, like 18, 19 year, because right, he was scoring like 35 a game, but he was the only one scoring, right? Like he had Westbrook the 1 year, which is I think the year he averaged like 36, but before that it was like that was the PJ Tucker, like sit in the corner, Clint Capella, Ryan Anderson day. Like it was I think James Harden did it to where a point where he had the ball and it was really only him scoring. This Thunder team, I think, is better just because Shea gets his off, but he's got the pieces to where, like, Aaron Wiggins earlier in the season had a 40-point game. I mean, J Dub had his career high not too long ago. When Chet plays, I agree. I think he will be a top 5 center in the league easily just because of his stretchability and rim pressure that he or like rim blocking ability. But um yeah, again, it just what is your case, what's your preference? And I mean, I you can't be mad if someone picks one over the other, so
yeah,
especially
absolutely.
at this point. But
Yeah.
let's go to two teams that are on fire since the trade deadline specifically. The Lakers have had one of the best defenses in the league since the trade deadline, which was something I don't think any of us had on the table when acquiring both Luca and LeBron. Um, LeBron is out. I believe he's been upgraded to day now, but again, it's a groin injury. You don't groin injuries. You literally just have to wait and see until how he plays. You can't give him a timetable. But um, Luca and the Lakers lost the first 2 games that was since LeBron went down. I think, or well, they lost the Boston game, which is when he went down, and then they lost to Brooklyn. But again, Luca just had probably one of his best games as a Laker, which is a good thing to see, especially advancing towards playoff time. And then the Warriors, I think when Jimmy plays, 12-1, I think, when
Yeah.
Jimmy has played. So and they just had another game. They just had a game last night where I think combined between Curry and Butler, they had like 16 points and they blew out the Kings. So Jonathan Kaminga came back for the first time in about 2 months. They have a pretty healthy squad over there now, and I mean they've been rolling. But the question is, when you get to the playoffs, who do you have more trust in? Who do you have more faith in when it comes to playoff time?
I'm gonna go with the Golden State Warriors because they won 4 championships the last 8 years. Steph knows what it takes to win. Draymond knows what it takes to win. Jimmy Butler knows what it takes to get there. He led the Heat to 2 NBA Finals in 3 years.
Yeah,
He doesn't know what it takes to win, but he knows what it takes to get there. And you
yeah,
mentioned they're 12-1 when Jimmy Butler plays. And Jimmy Butler seemed like a seamless fit with Golden State. Kind of same with Kevin Durant. Obviously, he's not the same level of player as KD, but when KD joined Golden State, it was a seamless, just plug and play fit. He knows his space. He knows what to do. Jimmy Butler is a defensive guy. He's going to guard the best opposing team's player every single night. So that takes a tremendous load off Draymond Green, where Draymond Green can be the point slash forward, and that gives Steph Curry a whole bunch of open shots. Steph Curry has been knocking down threes like
yeah.
crazy
He's
ever
been
since
on
they got
fire.
Jimmy Butler. Buddy
Mhm.
Hill has been a little bit more comfortable. Gary Payton has been playing a little more. You just mentioned Jonathan Kaminga. This Golden State Warriors team is 10 times deeper than the Lakers team. Because remember, when they traded again Anthony Davis and Max Christie for Luka Doncic, we're still saying who's the Lakers center. They
Yeah.
still need somebody in the paint to defend, block shots, and rebound. For Golden State, they don't need to have that problem. Because Draymond can play the five. Jimmy Butler can play the five. The Warriors have never been a team that plays a traditional five. Now, yes, Kevon Looney has played the five and has been a quality starting center for that team. But there's sometimes he gets a DMP where he doesn't play or he plays little limited minutes because they don't need his production. They're a team that's going to run and gun, shoot threes, get the ball to every single player that's on the court. Kind of reminds me of the triangle offense. Everybody is touching the
Mhm.
basketball with the Warriors.
Yeah.
With the Lakers offense, like okay, you kind of still it kind of reminds me of when Kyrie first got to Dallas, and they're figuring out, but LeBron's deferring to Luca. Luca is unequivocally the number one option for the Lakers right now, and that just showed he had a 45-point night
Mhm.
against I believe was it the Nets or the team that or they lost the night before, but he had a
Was
45
it?
point night. So it was like okay, outside of LeBron, Austin Reeves, and Luca, who else can you count on to give you consistent quality minutes and put the ball in the basket to give you 25, 30 points a night? You know,
Milwaukee. Milwaukee. They lost to
Milwaukee. Yeah,
Milwaukee.
thank you. Yeah, they lost to. I thought, yeah. So thank you for against Milwaukee. So again, and I think when you have a player like Luka Doncic, who was a transitional all superstar, all world player. I said it before in previous episodes. It's going to take them. I feel like they need a full training camp to gel. Now, give JJ Redick a ton of credit, and I believe he needs to be a candidate for Coach of the Year
For sure.
because how he has been able to get Luka Doncic to buy in and play defense, and the fact that the Lakers are a better defensive team with Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic defense don't go together in the same sentence. But he has bought Luka in to play defense. The Lakers as a whole are playing excellent defense. That is something that's credit to JJ Redick, that the players respect him. Obviously, him being a former player, they buy
Mhm.
into his system. He needs to be a serious candidate for coach of the year. But right now, if I'm anybody in the Western Conference, I do not want to play the Warriors in the first round. They know what it takes to get there. They're deep. Steph is playing unbelievable. Jimmy Butler's playing unbelievable. Everybody kind of pretty much goes back to their natural positions. Steve Kerr is a good coach, and they've won 4 times in the last 8 years. Steph Curry pretty much knows that he has this year, if not next year, to win a championship. He's hungry for that fifth ring. They're 9-1 the last 10 games. They're 12-1 since acquiring Jimmy Butler III. If I'm any team in the West, I do not want to play this team in the first round. When you want to be playing your best basketball is around this time, mid to late March, and then April when the playoffs start. Golden State Warriors is playing their best basketball mid to late March, and then April's right around the corner. Again, Lakers, they doing good. They doing great. Shout out to JJ Redick. But seeing what the Warriors are doing right now, I think they're hot. They're trailing. They could legitimately get that fourth spot in the West. They went all the way from being a 10th seed, 11 actually outside, to now being a 6th seed, and now they could possibly be a 4th seed. If I'm
Mhm.
anybody, I don't want to play this team. Mm-mm.
Okay.
No, no, sir.
You made good points. I think the Lakers are the more scary playoff team. I just you right. You talked about the center and for the Lakers, right? Jackson Hayes. I think Jackson Hayes has been perfect for what they need. I mean, granted, he's not. He should probably shouldn't be starting on a 2 or 3 seed like the Lakers, but I mean he's done what they've needed to do pretty well. He hasn't missed too much time. He didn't play in that Boston game, but I don't like if these teams were to hypothetically play against each other. I don't I don't trust the centers on the Warriors either. I mean, sure Draymond can play the 5, but is Draymond really 6'6" Draymond really going to go up there at his age right now to go and stop a Jackson Hayes alley oop because that's what they love to do in LA? I don't think so. Again, Kevon Looney doesn't really play all the time. Trace Jackson Davis literally gets DMPs now, even though I think he's the best center on the team. They play Quentin Post, who's like he's not really a center. He shoots, but he plays no sorts of defense. He's he's super thin, and his game just isn't defense, and that they start him. So I really don't trust the rim blocking ability of the Lakers either, especially with guys like LeBron who'll get downhill. Luca throw a lob to Hayes, LeBron throw a lob to Hayes, but if the Lakers need a whole training camp together, why don't the Warriors need one?
Yeah, because like I mentioned, it's been a seamless transitional fit, and Jimmy Butler is not the same player like Luka Doncic is. Luka Doncic is a guy that's going to automatically command attention, command double team, command a lot of attention from the defensive end compared to Jimmy Butler. And Luka's 26, just turned 26. Jimmy Butler is 35, 35, 36. So he's 9, 10 years older than Jimmy Butler. He's
Mhm.
9, 10 years older than Luka Doncic, excuse me. So that's what I mean. Again, it wasn't, it was still an impactful player, but not on the same level as Luka Doncic. We can agree that Luka's a better player than Jimmy Butler,
Right.
right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so that's why I feel like they need more of a training camp because Jimmy Butler's not going to be the number one option in Golden State. That's going to be Steph, and then probably he'll be second, and or maybe third. But Luka's going to be unequivocally 1A. So that's what
Mhm.
I mean by that. And they don't need any other pieces around them to make them contend. The Lakers, as we said, they need a big. They need a big. They try to fill in, role player bigs like Alex Len, who got crucified, I think, the
God,
last broadcast by Reggie
so
Miller.
bad,
Reggie
man.
Miller was like, "This man is not." Reggie Miller was
He's
like, "This man's not doing nothing. He's not
Reggie
rebounding, not
Miller's
running back on
100%
defense." I was like,
right.
"Damn."
He's
Yeah,
100% right though.
yeah,
Alex
no, he
Len,
is. No, he is.
he's old too, but yeah, I mean, I can see what you mean that it's going to take more time for two players that play similar and are of higher, stature to gel together. Um, but I think again, since we're talking about playoffs, say I didn't say this when you were talking, but say these two teams played against each other. The Lakers would have the best two players in the series, right?
Oh yeah, easily. Yeah,
Right. So, and you said earlier like Jimmy Butler would guard the best player. Who would you have Jimmy Butler guarding if the Lakers played them in a playoff series to
I would
start?
have.
Obviously, things
I would
change. But
to start. I'll put him on Luca. I'll put him on Luca.
who guards LeBron?
Draymond usually guards LeBron, or you could probably rotate Kaminga, put him on him, Gary Payton, put him on him because they can throw different bodies at LeBron James. So and then Draymond first. I was gonna say Wiggins. Wiggins not on the team anymore, but Kaminga's a pretty lengthy defender, so I think he'd give him some troubles. You're not gonna stop LeBron because he's LeBron James, but
No.
they have bodies to throw at him. And again, at 40 years old, LeBron is very capable. He has that on and off switch, but he really is becoming into that role of like, hey, I've done this for 22 years. I've won.
Mhm.
I know what it takes to win. I've been at the mountaintops. There's been times when I'm watching the Lakers and he's literally deferring to Luka's like, no, Luka, you take over. I know what you're capable of. You do you. And I say, and LeBron can definitely do that. But when
Mhm.
you have 22 years on those miles, on those feet, on those legs, you're like, bro, I don't want to play 45 minutes a night and then have to do all that. Like he can, he's very capable of doing it because he takes tremendous care of his body. But
Mhm.
when you've done it for so long, you just be like, yo, let the next young guy deal with it. I could be option number two. So that's why I feel like, that's just my
Okay.
opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Luca, he's one of those players that it's like I don't know if a well, I guess he
Yeah.
could. I think Jimmy Butler would be the ideal person you would want on LeBron. I think you could find I feel like guarding LeBron, even though he's 40, I feel like guarding LeBron is almost a more daunting task still than guarding Luca because LeBron has turned himself into a great three-point shooter. He's like
Mhm.
38%, I believe, around this year. He can still get to the rim. He can still do the playmaking, rebounding, and he's strong. And Jimmy Butler is a strong guy too. And we saw in the finals. Granted, it was 5 years ago, but you don't. I get Jimmy would be a good person to guard both of them, but obviously he
Yeah.
can't. But I think I would rather have Jimmy on LeBron just because I think sometimes when you have a smaller guy on, a guy like Luca, it's more irritating for him. While, um, now granted, like in the finals, I'll just use as an example. Drew Holiday and Derek White aren't small guards, but like they're quicker than like a Jimmy Butler is. They're a little bit more handsy. Jimmy Butler's pretty, handsy too on defense, but like I don't know. I just feel like having like a smaller guy that's he still needs to be strong because Luca will back you down. He'll bring you in the post on whoever, but I just think that
Mhm.
guarding those two, I don't think that the Warriors really have it. So yeah, I
Now,
just don't think that the Warriors have it to guard the Lakers guys, but I don't know if this is what you were gonna say. I could say the same thing the other way. Who's guarding Stephen Curry on the Lakers? It's not
yeah.
LeBron. It's not Luca. I mean, it's not going to be Jackson Hayes. You're kind of like, I don't even know, like Dorian Finney-Smith. This would be a situation where I would hope that wish that the Lakers still had Max Christie or someone like that.
Hmm.
Be like a guy that'll still run around and just do all those things. Now, Dorian Finney-Smith's still a good defender, but like Dorian Finney-Smith's not one of those guys that I think I would want on chasing Curry around the floor all night. But yeah, I just think that the Lakers just again, when it comes to playoff time, it's all about matchups. And I think Luca and LeBron is going to be a headache for any team to match up against. There's not going to be many teams that can guard them that well. I mean, I think Houston could guard them pretty like in a kind of fun way between Amen Thompson, Tari Eason, Jabari Smith, Dylan Brooks. I think OKC could do it if they were healthy, having like Caruso and Lou Dort. I mean, even Shea will defend too when he if he's getting picked on or something. Um, but those are really the only two teams out west that like I think have a good enough rotation of defensive guys to kind of again, you're not going to stop Luka and LeBron, but like to give them problems. Maybe you could throw like Memphis in there because they don't really have a lot of wing defenders. They kind of have more big defenders between Jaren, Zach Edey, and stuff like that. But yeah, I think that the Lakers or Warriors, just like we've given them the benefit of the doubt, um, like in the past, whether they're in the play-in or like a 6 seed that just barely make the playoffs. You don't want to see either of these teams in the first round. It's like again,
Hmm.
if the Warriors do fall a little to the play-in and they get the 8th seed versus OKC, or I mean, there's a possibility that we could see this in the first round because
Yeah.
the Warriors I think are the 6th seed, the Lakers are they're
Third.
fluctuating with the 30
Mm.
seed.
Yeah.
That would be if the playoffs started right now, that would be our matchup. And if the Warriors drop to 7 and the Lakers come to 2 and the Warriors win that first play-in game, then they're like this could very well be a first round matchup. And it'll probably be the best playoff series that we'll get in the first round. Just because two major moves um that have really just put their respective teams ahead. Now, granted, the Lakers were still a good team before Luca, unlike the Warriors were, but I mean, just adding Luca to any team, it's like you're gonna be better
Yeah.
now. But the thing that it's really shocking, which we said
Mm.
earlier, it's the defense that's been so good since he's been there. Because again, you put Luca and LeBron on the same team, it's rough. Like you would think it's rough, and
Yeah.
maybe it does get back to being like neutral, like it not so they're not going to be so defensive oriented. But I think once Luca starts hitting these threes, which he's really struggled with since he's been in LA with his efficiency, it's gonna be scary. It's gonna be hard to take them out, even though again their surrounding roster isn't that good. I agree the Warriors bench is better because you got Moses Moody, you got Buddy Hield, you got Gary Payton. Whether Jonathan Kaminga starts or comes off the bench, you got him too. Um, so I just think that the two-headed monster of LeBron and Luca is just it's just something you can't ignore. So, but
Yeah, no, definitely. Oh,
yeah,
excuse me. You know, I definitely agree, and especially too, the Lakers. They have pretty much had the Warriors, number this year. They beat them 3 times this season, and not to
hmm
mention they beat them in last year's playoffs.
hmm
And their next and final game is going to be April 3rd, so they could be a complete sweep for all this season. But again, it was a
hmm
different Lakers team that had Anthony Davis compared to now Luka
yeah,
Doncic. And excuse me, anybody who knows how to beat Steph Curry, Draymond, Jimmy Butler, and those pesky Warriors is LeBron James. So as you just mentioned, the playoffs is all about matchup. Like, yes, you could have the number one record, and you go up against a team that's better suited to face you and get knocked out the first round. So all your hard work throughout the season just goes to waste. But if I were to believe if the Lakers Warriors matched up, just because again the Lakers have beaten the Warriors multiple times. They beat them three times this season. They beat them last year in the playoffs 4-2. I think you'll probably give the slight edge to the Lakers because they're again still a little bit better defensive team
mhm,
without Anthony Davis when they had Anthony Davis. But again, the biggest advantage that they had was interior because they had somebody who was an elite player who can block shots, alter shots, get you 25 and 12, play defense, play 1 through 5. Now you don't really have that. So that could be a weakness that the Warriors are going to expose. But we'll see. I think the Lakers would still have their number, as you just mentioned, because again, playoffs is all about matchup. But
mhm,
right now, momentum wise speaking, it's definitely the Warriors. If I'm any team, I don't want to play them. But if it
mhm.
was the Lakers and the Warriors to play in the first or second round, I would put my money on the Lakers to win because again, they have had their number this season, and LeBron knows what it takes to beat them.
There you go. Yeah. Um, Another team that I think would be rough for any higher seed to see in the first round are the Timberwolves. In Randall's last 11 games that he has played with the team, they are 11-0. Those aren't the Timberwolves' last 11 games because has missed time, but the last 11 games that he has played, they are 11-0. And they're currently down 8 to the Magic with 11 minutes left. So hope maybe that streak dies tonight, but I think the Timberwolves, they were just the best defense in the league last year. Rudy Gobert, Rudy Gobert won Defensive Player of the Year. I mean,
Mhm.
it's a different team, right? They don't have Cat, and instead they have Randall and DiVincenzo. But and they were just in the conference finals last year. I don't want to see a team that was just in the conference finals last year, unless it's the Mavericks, but that's not going to happen. But I don't want to see a team that was just in the conference finals last year and was just the best defensive team in the league at all. Because like if they get the eighth seed and they have to play and they play OKC and OKC has to go through that's rough. I don't care how good of a team you are because OKC doesn't have necessarily a lot of experience in the playoffs, and the Timberwolves they don't have a ton either because Edwards is still young, but like Rudy Gobert's been in the playoffs a lot. Julius Randle's had some time in the playoffs. Mike Conley has been in the league for a long time, even though Mike Conley hasn't been that great. But it's going to be that would be a rough thing to see in the first round if you were a 1 or 2 seed because you win all those games to be a 1 or 2 seed, so you can go against you can have the easiest path for the most amount of time in the playoffs until you really have to, buckle up and go up against maybe the 2 seed in the conference finals or you get a 4 seed in the second round, something like that. So, but I just think the Timberwolves they're playing better than what that 7 seed title like has on their team, especially as of recently. So
Yeah. And I think as you mentioned too, with the Minnesota Timberwolves, they've been able to find a way. Not Cat, Brunson. No, what am I talking about? Brunson. Excuse
Randall.
me. Randall and Anthony Edwards have been able to finally gel because that was really the biggest issue with that team. Is like, okay, you know, you see sometimes Randall is taking unnecessary shots, and
Yeah.
then Edwards is in the corner like, "Hey, dog, like you supposed to pass me that's my time." And then when Edwards is taking unnecessary shots and then Randall's open. Those two guys are pretty much alphas. And Julius Randle, who had a short stint with the Knicks before Brunson came along,
Mhm.
was the number one guy for the
Right.
Knicks. Now I feel like he's trying to not say revitalize that role, but
Mhm.
feel like, hey, like I'm on par with this guy Anthony Edwards too. Obviously, it's Anthony Edwards'
Yeah.
team, but he's like, hey, I could be a 1B number 2 option.
Right, right.
And so, again, it's all going to take time to fit in, and they're finally fitting in, as you mentioned. They're
Mhm.
like 11-0 with Julius Randle. Some of
Yeah.
the teams that they have faced, that they have beaten, what is it? They beat the Denver, they beat the Spurs, they beat the Hornets, they beat Philly, they beat Phoenix. Now I'm looking at these teams that they beat: Charlotte, Miami.
Yeah.
Again, good quality wins, but as we all know, San Antonio this season's pretty much a wash for them. Wemby's down. I believe they just shut down De'Aaron Fox for the whole
Yeah,
year.
he's gonna have pace.
Miami is pretty much rebuilding or retooling after trading away Jimmy Butler.
Mhm.
Charlotte Hornets are the Charlotte Hornets. They're a joke. Philadelphia 76ers, the process is over. They're
Yeah.
shutting down all the players this year. We don't know what the hell is going on with the Phoenix Suns.
Mhm.
So, again, not great with maybe outside the Denver Nuggets, but better now to find their fitting better late in the season than ever. I think that they're a piece away from actually making noise in the Western Conference. I think maybe they could try to see if they could try to trade Rudy Gobert, because Rudy Gobert, the fact that you have a guy who is a 4-time defensive player of the year, but when it comes to the postseason, he literally becomes a defensive liability. You can't make this nonsense up.
Yeah.
How the hell you win that award 4 times, but in the postseason, they can't play you out there on the court because you get cooked in every pick and roll situation. You
Yeah.
give up points in the paint like crazy. It makes no sense. So they traded the wrong big. They're gonna have to try to find a way to trade away Rudy Gobert because he's on a big contract. I don't know what you're gonna get for him, but they need an actual rim protector, a defender. Carl
Yeah.
Anthony Towns was better at protecting the rim in the postseason than Rudy Gobert was. But I think that they're a piece away. It's nice to see Randall and Anthony Edwards fitting in. Don't know what they're gonna do about Mike Conley. He's getting old. He hasn't been playing as much.
Better have,
Maybe,
yeah.
yeah. I think maybe they're probably gonna trade him or release him.
Yeah.
Probably give that kid Rob Dillingham some more minutes because he's
They
been
were
playing
playing.
really well.
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
playing their young they were playing, when Randall and Gobert were both out, they were playing, they were playing, Dillingham and, like, Terrence Shannon, Jalen Clark, like, they were playing these, like those guys were all, like, playing together during, like, meaningful minutes, um, and it was I mean, it would look good, but, yeah, I think come playoff time, they're probably gonna just take I would assume, especially, like, late game, like, Conley would just come out and they would throw DiVincenzo in or, like, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, but, yeah, I agree, the Rudy Gobert, defensive thing because, right, it's all matchup based, and there's not a lot of great like, almost any team can exploit him in the playoffs, like, if they do play the Thunder, which I said would be rough, I mean, you got Chet in the game. He's got to step out there on Chet. He can't just be like, "Oh, I'll let you shoot it. Hopefully you miss." Chet'll make the threes, man. He'll stretch the floor out. And he's just quicker than Gobert. And that's why I like the Cat and Gobert thing because when they played Denver last year in the playoffs, they would have, Cat on the real center and they would let just Gobert roam to be like a shot blocker. But obviously you can't really do that. I mean, you can with Randall. Randall's still a bigger body. He's a good defender. You still have Naz Reid as well. Comes off the bench, but you still have Naz Reid. So you could do it, but I think it is just that is a good point to bring up. I hadn't thought about that. But enough of the Timberwolves. We'll get into our top 10 small forwards. I'm going to say before we do this, small forwards had a lot of injuries that we did not have on our list because, again, we went with the format of the 65 game rule, and either these guys have already missed it or they are on pace to miss it. Guys like Kawhi Leonard, Franz Wagner, Jimmy Butler, Brandon Ingram, Kyle Kuzma, Paul George, and Chris Middleton. Again, not all of those guys necessarily would have been in our top tens, but they were small forwards that could have been in consideration. And Small forward was one of probably the roughest list because there's not a lot of top end talent
Hmm.
really here. These are a lot of these guys are teams like fourth or fifth best starter. We do have a couple all star caliber ish players, sort of, or former all stars in here, but we'll see. I think our lists are going to be drastically different because I really think that these players from like 10 to like 3 are like really preference based. So I'll start off. I have Cam Johnson as my 10th best small forward.
Word.
Cam Johnson was a guy that was it seemed like he was going to be traded this trade deadline. He's averaging just under 19 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 40% from three, 48% from the field. Um, he was a really big piece to the Phoenix run that they had in 2021. Granted, that was about 4 years ago now, but he's still good. He's better than what he was then because he was a youngin when that happened. But Cam Johnson was a guy that was again heavily on teams like OKC and Cleveland's radar who needed another big wing, even like teams like Memphis. Just because he's like the perfect 3 and D type of guy. He's probably one of the best 3 and D guys that in the league, and his value is just something that any contender should want. So he's my number 10.
I like that. Good way to start it off. For me, number 10, I'm gonna go with Knicks forward OG Anunoby. Played 59 games so far this season. Missed a few with the ankle injury, but he's averaging 16 points per game. He's shooting about 46, almost 47% from the field. He's making about almost 2.5 threes a game, attempting almost 6 threes a game. As we mentioned, he could defend, he could block shots. He's a Tom Thibodeau's dream, where you can literally play a guy in the
Mhm.
entire 48 minutes and he won't get hurt. He'll give you his all. He'll play on
Mhm.
both sides and could guard legitimately 3 positions. So I'm gonna go with OG Anunoby. And again, he better because he just got paid this past summer. So it was almost over $200 million contract.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
he
he's
better be in
making
the top
like
10.
over 40 a year.
Yeah, he better be.
Yeah. Yeah, he's really valuable player. I like it. Who's your number 9?
All right, for me, my number 9, I'm gonna have to go with the player you just mentioned, Cam Johnson from my Brooklyn Nets, averaging just around 19 points a game. Played 50 games. It says about him being on the potential trade block, but that didn't end up happening. You mentioned again
Mhm.
he played a vital role in the Suns' 2021 championship run, which they eventually ended up losing to the Milwaukee Bucks. But this man can shoot it 48% from the field. He's making about 3 threes a game, 40% from the 3-point line. And if the Nets decide to do move on for him in free agency this summer, there's going to be a whole lot of suitors for his services. He's I
Mhm.
believe what 27, 28. He's a 4-year college guy, a 3-year college guy. Went to UNC, so he knows what it takes. Very mature, very a bright young man. He can play both sides. And again, if anybody who's looking for a guy that's a 3 and D guy that can knock down jump shots, mid range, can post up, is just a pure scorer at that position, Cam Johnson is one of those dudes in the league. So yeah, he's number 9 for me.
Yeah, and I didn't even mention this, but his contract's not too bad. He's making 22 this year, 20 next year, and 22 the year after.
Mhm.
So again, not a max contract, not a super small contract. It's kind of right in the middle, which we don't have a lot of in the league today.
Mhm.
But yeah, he's just a really valuable player. And I think he could fit really wherever he needs to. So um my number 9 is Andrew Wiggins.
Ooh.
Wiggins just got traded right from in the Butler deal. And when that trade originally did happen, Andrew Wiggins was averaging more points and was pretty much having a better season up until
Mhm.
this point. I think Butler has retaken that since joining the Warriors, and Butler's had his own, thing with the Heat that was going on. But Andrew Wiggins, 18 points, 4.5 rebounds a game, 37-ish% from three, 44 from the field. He's a great defender. He's a good body. He fits with the Miami Heat, how they like to play. I think it was a pretty good trade for what the a pretty good trade for what the Heat got back. And he was a good player to get in there because even though his contract isn't the greatest, it's a pretty big contract because he's not the all star that he was in 22. But again, he fits with Cam Johnson to me. He's just fits. Um, I think he just fits on any team, and I
Mm.
think I like his defensive just a little bit more than I do for Cam Johnson. So, my
Yeah, I
number
like that. Very, very solid.
mm, my number 8, I'm gonna go with DeAndre Hunter. DeAndre
Mhm.
Hunter again, another guy that just got traded. He 18 points a game, 4 rebounds, over 41% from
Mm.
three. Again, he's really he fits right in with what I just said about Wiggins and
What I
Cam Johnson. He fits right in with those modes of players. He's another just a perfect 3 and D guy. Cleveland got themselves a gem from that trade, but it's just again, he's literally just I think better than Wiggins and Cam Johnson at the things that he does. So he was sixth man of the year front runner for a little. He was averaging over 20 on the Hawks. That's gone down a little. He's still coming off the bench in Cleveland. And Cleveland might have two top 3 6 men of the year runners between him and Ty Jerome. So
Mhm.
Hunter's my eighth.
Okay, I like that. I like that. Number 7 for me, I believe, because I mentioned my eighth. Number 7, I'm gonna have to go with Michael Porter Jr. from the Denver Nuggets. He is right now averaging right around 18 points a game. 18.3 points per game.
Mhm.
He's shooting about 50, almost 51% from the field, attempting
Mhm.
about 6 threes, 40% from the 3 point line. As I mentioned again, he's a 6'10 guy, long, lengthy, NBA champion, 3 and D guy. He gets the free throw line quite a lot. He's a very, very good, solid free throw line shooter at just around 75%. Also getting about 7 rebounds a game. And yeah, they're gonna need him to play a lot more minutes to be a lot more efficient. Now with Eric Gordon going to miss a couple of weeks with that sprained ankle, so I got Michael Porter Jr. as my seventh. Oh, that
Yeah.
was my eighth, right? Was that eight? I think that was eight for me, right? I did OG Cam. Oh no,
Okay.
seven. Yeah, OG Cam and then now MPJ. Sorry, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Right.
My seventh, because I actually forgot to put him in somehow. You already
Uh
mentioned him, Josh Hart.
oh.
Josh Hart is a great piece to what the New York Knicks are doing. He's averaging just under 15 points, 9.8 rebounds, 5.5 assists at his 6'4" frame. About 34% from three, 54% from the field. And he's just like it's so weird because he plays like he could be a star player, but he doesn't give you the production that a star player does give you. So um it's just a he's just a strange he's just a strange prototype of player because again, he sometimes is playing power forward for them and he's sometimes playing shooting guard. Um or small forward. He's a good defender. I like what he does. He's a different mode of player because again, the fact that he's one of the best rebounders in the league at
Yeah.
6'4", it's a strange type of it's just a strange type of player. So but yeah, he's my seventh. Do you give your seventh or no? You did, right?
Uh, yeah, my seventh was Porter Jr. I did
Okay.
OG, Cam Johnson, and MPJ.
Okay. So my sixth was MPJ. I actually had to take out apparently Laurie Markkinen is not going to make the game thing. So he was
Oh,
originally in
really?
my list, so I took him out.
Ah, okay.
But so MPJ is my sixth. Everything you just said, he's a crazy good shooter. He's good for that what that Denver team is doing. And I really didn't like the fact that he was in trade rumors when when people were looking at like guys like Zach Levine or things like that because Zach LaVine is a better player than Michael Porter Jr., but I
Hmm.
just like what Michael Porter Jr. does for that team just a little bit more, especially when they have a guy already like Jamal Murray. I think Zach LaVine comes in when you don't have a guy like Jamal Murray who can self create, is a tough shot maker and taker. Um, so they're pretty similar to me in that way. Obviously, LaVine is way more athletic, but again, MPJ, um, he's just solid. I mean, he's a good rebounder too, 7 a game, 40% from three. So he's my number 6. Who you got at 6?
Number 6, I'm gonna go with the other forward from the New York Knicks, not the one that you mentioned, but Mikal Bridges just hit a big game winner a couple nights
Did
ago against the Portland Trail Blazers, averaging about 17 and a half points per game. He's shooting about 49.5%, pretty much 50% from the field goal line, excuse me, getting you about six threes a game, 35% from the 3-point line. When the season started, it was kind of took him a little bit while to get gel together with this new team. Him being the number one option with the Nets, now possibly being the third or fourth option with the
yeah,
Knicks. But with Brunson being out, they put the basketball more in his hand, and he has delivered. Now there was I think some type of rumor report out there that he told Tom Thibodeau, say, "Hey, stop playing the starters so many damn minutes and give the minutes to the rest of the guys on the bench who want to get in game action." That's going to be the downfall of Tom Thibodeau. Mark my words, because don't be surprised if he gets fired next year, because all the players, the Knicks players, had no players left. That happened in the series against the Pacers. They literally had nobodies. Randall was hurt. Brunson was hurt. They literally had to go to the corner boy to selling the hot dogs just to play. But Mikal Bridges, again, he can knock down shots. He can defend. He is an NBA Iron Man. This man literally does
yeah,
not miss games.
yeah.
He
I think
does it.
he did like 500 straight or something like that.
It's crazy. He is a coach's dreams in terms of
Yeah,
somebody who's going to
right.
suit up and play every single night. He's most likely going to be Tom Thibodeau's worst nightmare, or Mikal Bridges
Yeah.
is Tom Thibodeau's worst nightmare.
And if
But yeah,
Mikal Bridges is telling you that when he's played every game, pretty much,
yes.
I think it goes back even before college too. I think somebody did a thing like I think it was like since high school he's really hasn't like ever missed a game. If he's telling you that, then you should probably listen because again, he loves to play like guys like that. Josh Hart, they love playing a lot like that. But again, I do agree that he's got to rely on the bench more. I saw a thing saying that he would probably Tom Thibodeau would probably be an excellent college coach with
Hmm.
how he does it because college is a very not a lot of people play for college necessarily, but yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree, I like it. So um,
Thank you.
go for your
Mm.
5th.
Whew, all right, so top 5 right now. I'm gonna have to go with DeAndre Hunter, presumed sixth man of the year for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Again, changed life in Cleveland. Well, didn't really change life, but was what the doctor ordered for the Cavs,
Hmm.
averaging just around 18 points a game, 47% from the field,
Hmm.
41% from the 3-point line. If he ups his numbers just a little bit from
Hmm.
the three, from the free throw line, and from the field goal, he can be in that rare 40 was it 50 40 90 club. He's shooting about
Yeah,
85.5% from the free throw line. So if he could get those percentages higher, he's going to be in rare air. But yeah, can do everything. He's not even starting. He's giving you these minutes. Imagine if he was starting and he's giving you
mhm,
this type of production, but can defend, can guard, can block shots. He doesn't need the basketball in his hands to be effective. He can literally not touch a basketball the entire game and still affect the game on the defensive end. Hustle plays, block shots, screens, do all the dirty work that doesn't show up on the box score. So DeAndre Hunter this season has cracked, in my opinion, cracked the list for top 5 shooting guards this season.
yeah. My number 5, one of my favorite players in the league, Amen Thompson. I really want to put him higher, but there are some guys that are a little bit more established, have a better offensive game because I mean, a man 14 points a game, 8 rebounds, 3.5 assists, 55% from the field, but again, 25% from three, less than 70% on the free throws, and he's really like he is very quickly become one of the Rockets' most untouchable players. Like if the Rockets have been in rumors to get Booker, Durant, like just like star caliber players, I would not throw Amen Thompson in any of them. I would not throw Amen Thompson. And I probably wouldn't throw Alperen Sengun. Other than that, offer me anything you want for any of the other guys. As much as I love Jalen Green, Jabari, Tari, like all those guys, I would rather trade all those guys if I was Houston than Amen Thompson.
Yeah,
And Sengun. But again, Amen Thompson, he's probably him and his brother probably the most athletic uh players in the league. One of the they're a different prototype of a small forward, and trust me, Asar Thompson would be right on this list too. But Asar Thompson wasn't playing for a little while because he had his blood clot thing from last
yeah,
year,
yeah,
and he is finding his way back in there now and kind of taking on what Amen Thompson does for Houston, but it just isn't going as noticed because while Detroit has been good, Houston was really good earlier, so they got more of the attention. But again, he's really like I thought he should have started last year. That's how much of a fan of Amen Thompson I was, even though it was his rookie year. But he's just probably one of the most valuable defenders in the league, and that's going to be every. I think this is going to be a newer thing that we're going to be seeing in the league. Everyone wanted the 3 and D wings, and everyone still wants them, needs them. I think guys that can play multiple positions, like the Thompson twins, Bilal Coulibaly in Washington, guys like that, where they are just these freak athletes. They can play 40 minutes if they need to. They can handle the ball. They can do everything, but they're just freakishly athletic and will guard literally whoever you need. I think that might be a new prototype that's coming to the league.
yeah. I
So
agree.
Amen's my fifth. Fourth, I've got DeMar DeRozan, 22 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. Um, 34% from three, which is his best year since 21-22 shooting wise. Um, I mean, he's still money from mid range, like always. He shoots 52% from the 2 pointers, 48% from the field in general. He's on a new team this year, and he's done pretty good. The Kings obviously went through their hard times with the whole coach thing and the De'Aaron Fox stuff earlier in the season, but DeRozan, he's still again a unique player because he's not the 3-point shooter that everyone pretty much is in the league, but he just gives that team a different look. And there's just he's just super efficient still and super reliable to me. He probably won't be this high next year if we do this again, just because guys like Amen, I assume, will rise. There will be other guys will be healthy, and he's going to be older. He is already he's 35. He'll be 36 in not too long. So we'll see how Father Time treats him. But yeah, Demar's my fourth.
Okay, okay, like that, like that. For me, I'm gonna have to go with this is my fourth, right? Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Scotty Barnes out of the Toronto Raptors. Just about 20 points a game, right under 19.6, 44% from the field, 26% from three. Needs to get that 3-point percentage up a little bit. But
Mhm.
again, you can rebound, averaging almost 8 rebounds, 6 assists. I believe he's a guy that is a triple double type player like a Cade Cunningham because Scotty
Yeah.
Barnes, the ball's in his hands a lot of the time. He's a facilitating offense, creating offense, and he can get players open. He can knock down some shots. As I mentioned, he needs to work on that 3-point shot. That's the only hole in his game. But the Toronto Raptors are very, very young. They're building something very good over there. So I got Scotty Barnes right now as my fourth small forward this season.
Uh-huh. All right. Third.
Oh, third. Okay. I'm gonna have to go with the guy that you just mentioned. I had somebody else, but again, since now have power forwards, also small forwards playing power forward positions. I'm gonna have to go with the guy you just mentioned, DeMar DeRozan, 22 points a game.
Mhm,
He's shooting about 49%, close to 49% from the field. Again, doesn't take a lot of 2-minute three because he's nicknamed Mr. Mid-Range Jumper. Shows free throw, his 3-point percentage is about 34%, but he is shooting about almost 88% from the field. He is a bucket getter. If you need a basket in the clutch moments, he can get you that. Again, 35 years old, as you mentioned, feel like he's been in the league for a long, long time. But if you want
yeah,
somebody who's a professional pro, who's nicknamed Mr. Mid Range, who's a clutch basket getter, DeMar DeRozan is your guy. But as you mentioned, don't know if he's going to be this high on the list come next year. As you mentioned, Amen Thompson, most likely going to take a leap. You got other guys who didn't play that much because of the 65 game threshold, like Franz
mhm,
Wagner,
yeah,
other players. So Kyle,
mhm,
maybe Kyle Kuzma could jump him. Maybe Grant if he gets traded, Jeremy Grant gets traded, finds another team. So it will be interesting. But yeah, right now, got to give props to DeMar DeRozan. So he's number 3 for me.
okay. Number 3 for me is he might be high now that I'm re-looking over this, but I have RJ Barrett as number 3. RJ
Whoa,
Barrett, um,
RJ
20,
Barrett. Wow.
yeah, 21 and a half points a game, 6.5 rebounds, 6 assists, 47 percent from the field, 36% from the three, 65% from free throws. Not very good, RJ. We gotta get that up. Especially when a couple years ago he shot 83%. But RJ Barrett's had great moments this year. Toronto is trying to lose. They want to be in that top 3 pick range, but RJ Barrett has had um a great year. He's had 2 triple doubles this year. It feels like he's had more because his playmaking has been so good since he's got to Toronto, which was a thing that wasn't necessarily always on his radar. He's jumped to almost 2 more assists than he was at last year. And again, Toronto's not very good, but again, there's a lot of guys this year that small forwards are injured, and a lot of these guys that were small forwards historically are down in the power forward. So that's again why positions are skewed, and some of these guys are higher than what they probably should be. But yeah, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
RJ Barrett, he's really improved. Um, again, he's not gonna be not like most improved because again he averaged pretty similar things last year, but I like how he plays on Toronto a lot more than how he was on the Knicks. And maybe that's just because over time he got better, but yeah, again, RJ Barrett's my third. um Second, I have again a lot of guys were injured, but second I have Trey Murphy.
Whoa,
Trey Murphy,
Trey Murphy.
I
Wow.
think this might be something we do in a future episode, but I think Trey Murphy might be one of those guys next year who gets his first All Star appearance. Um, Trey Murphy, he's 21 and a half points, 5 rebounds, 36% from three. Again, New Orleans has had the worst year possible they could ever have with all their players between DeJounte, Brandon Ingram when he was there, Zion was missing time. I mean, Herb Jones out for the year. They've gone through a lot of stuff, and Trey Murphy has been like the one solid thing there. He's averaging a career high in minutes, and he's really putting in work. And again, the Pelicans aren't very good, but Trey Murphy has had a great year. Again, I do think that next year he might be one of those guys that gets his first All Star appearance, depending on how good the team is when Dejounte does come back and how Herb and everything like that. But I mean, Trey Murphy has been stuck behind Brandon Ingram and all those forwards for so long while he's been in pretty much his whole career. He he hasn't started a lot of his games. He started 138 games out of his 250 he's played. And he's too good for that. So I'm glad that they did get rid of Ingram. to kind of free up minutes. Now they still have a logjam because you still got, like I said, Herb Jones when he comes back. I mean, again, one of those guys is coming off the bench between you know Dejounte McCollum, Herb Jones, and Trey Murphy. It sucks, but it's got to be done again, unless you're doing the Herb Jones as center thing again. But who knows? So yeah, Trey Murphy is my number two. What do you have?
All right, my number two. I'm gonna go with the guy from the Boston Celtics who just won the championship last year, Jason Tatum, 27 points a game. He's shooting about 46, almost 46% from the field, 35% from the from the 3 point line, and 80% from three, almost getting you about 9 rebounds a game and 6 assists a game with almost a block as well too.
Hmm.
Jason Tatum again has pretty much solidified his place as a top 5 player in today's game. A very untouchable. I don't think the Boston Celtics is gonna get rid of him. Young has played in what like 5 Eastern Conference championships his first like what 6 years in the league. So he
Hmm.
knows what it takes to get there. He's won last year, won the championship last year. So yeah, definitely got to give Jason Tatum some more respect. Obviously, he came out not too long ago say that he views the NBA doesn't view him as one of the potential faces of the league, or the league doesn't, or the
Hmm.
media doesn't give him much respect. So I'm giving him respect. I think he's the second best small forward in today's game.
Yeah. I think he's right when he said that too. But
Mm-hmm.
all right. Number one. I have his teammate. I have Jalen Brown as a small forward over there. Jalen Brown. Again, would he be number one with if everyone was healthy in this position? I don't know because he's had a relatively down year. 23 points, 6 rebounds, a little less than 5 assists. 31% from three. It's is not great. That's a career low in 3-point shooting percentage. He's never averaged less than 34%, and he's at 31%. But again, a lot of injuries for this position. So, and I mean, he's still good. He was still an all-star this year. Um, he's still, he's still, he might be crazy to say, but he might be one or two on the Celtics of best defenders just because of what he can do versus like between different positions. Sure, we have Drew and Derek White, but Brown can really guard the big forwards too because of his strength and size. So I think Jalen Brown he's my best small forward in the league this year. So yeah, who do you have as your best small forward?
I got the guy who plays for the Los Angeles Lakers, who's been putting the NBA on his back for the last 22 years, counting, since he came into the league back in 2003 and was asked to carry a franchise on his broad shoulders. Number 23 from Akron, Ohio, LeBron James, year 22 at age 40 years old, is still getting it done. Father Time, there is no limits when it comes to him. 25 points a game. He is shooting about 52% from the field, 30% from three. Free throw is not the best free throw shooter, but still very, very solid. 77% from the free throw line, 8 assists, and 8.5 rebounds a game. Again, his numbers, there was a graphic I saw that his numbers were slightly better than when he won MVP with the Miami Heat his first 2 years. Crazy. And again, this is year 22 at age 40 for
Hmm.
LeBron James, and his numbers were better than he was in his prime peak. So I don't know what he's taking, if he's on that performance enhancing drugs, if he just takes tremendous care of his body. What's his secret sauce? But to be doing this for this long, the longevity is unbelievable. LeBron James, again, Father Time is undefeated, but he is kicking Father Time's ass right now as we speak. So got to give credit to that man, and he should be in an MVP conversation. Obviously, he's not going to win it, but when
No,
you have a guy who again kept the Lakers afloat, with Anthony Davis when he was there, kept them
hmm
afloat, was able to start to fit in with a guy who plays the same exact way, same
hmm
exact play style as him. you got to give him his due. And now again, LeBron James not going to sit in the chair and defend like he used to because he
Yeah.
doesn't want to do that and doesn't have the legs enough to do that. But there's times when it's a clutch moments. He can play defense. He's still going to get you an occasional chase down block here and there. He's
Mhm.
adjusted his play style. He's knocking down threes. But yeah, so you got to give it to LeBron James again, man. Longevity is something that has to be behold when playing a professional sport. 22 years. That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I do want to say Minnesota won, so that Randall streak is still alive. 12-0 since Randall's been playing in those last 12 games. So, um,
Wow.
yeah, again, the position's skewed just because it's how you interpret the players. You've got some guys that I've gone power forwards, and same, vice versa. So that's why, you know, I don't have LeBron because not because LeBron's not a
Yep.
top 10 forward,
I was
just
about
because
to say.
he's on my power forward list. So,
Oh, okay. I was about to say, yo, they gonna kill you in the comments. Like, how the hell this dude don't got LeBron?
yeah, I'm not that dumb. All
Yeah.
right. Before we go, we're gonna do your team game. We're gonna do two this week since we missed last week, so we're gonna make up with two.
Okay.
You know how it goes. A minute. First team is
Uh,
gonna be
the Suns. Okay.
Phoenix Suns.
Should be
You're
easy.
just going to you're just going to name off players when I start the timer, and then we'll go back over it and we'll see you how many you had got in that minute, and then we will
Okay.
go on to the second team afterwards. Let me get my timer ready.
Okay.
Let me know when you're ready.
Okay. All right. I am ready.
All right,
All right.
ready,
I was oh,
set, go.
all right. Obviously KD, D Book, Devin Booker, Bradley Bill, the big three,
Mm-hmm,
Bowl, Grayson Allen, I believe Tyus Jones. That dude just got into a fight with somebody, Steven Adams. Oh, Mason Plumlee.
mm-hmm,
Who else? I said Allen. They got one of the Martins, Cody Martin, right?
mm-hmm,
One of the Martins. They got Damon Lee. He used to play for the Warriors. I think he's still there. Ryan Dunn.
mm-hmm.
Somebody named Oso. I don't know how you pronounce that last
I
name.
got you.
Okay. Um. Oh, Royce O'Neal came over with the trade with KD. He's still there.
Mm-hmm.
I think they had this guy that played for Kentucky. What was his name? Tai or TT? I think it's Tai TT
Ty
Washington.
Washington.
Ah,
Yep.
yeah. Um, I'm missing somebody.
5 seconds.
I think he used to play for the Nuggets. Is it Monty? I don't know. Oh, fuck.
Okay. All right. That was a minute. I'll give you Monte. Yep. Monte Morris. Let's see. We got hold on, let me find the sun so we can check your work.
That's right.
I mean, obviously Katie, let's see, hold on. 1, 2, 3. Before I've checked, it looks like you have 14, so you're killing it with this.
Let's go.
Yeah, the Oso Igadora was his name, but I knew
Oh,
who you
okay.
meant. Damian Lee is there. Ty Washington's there. Oh, the bad one, Nick Richards. You forgot Nick Richards.
Oh, that's right. He did play. Damn.
Oh, I mean, but still, 14 is good. That's tied for the most that you have gotten.
Let's go. We like that. We like that.
Yeah, you did pretty good. Then we're going to let me reset, and we're going to do your second team,
Mm-hmm.
which is we're going to do Memphis.
Okay. Okay. All right. Sounds good.
Same thing. Just rattle off players. You got a minute. Let me know when you're ready.
Oh, I think I'm gonna. I don't know if I'm gonna do so good at this,
It's a
bro.
hard one. They've got a
All
lot of
right.
people over there.
Yeah. All right. All right. Go ahead.
All
All right.
right,
I'm ready.
3, 2, 1, go.
Okay. Obviously, John Moran, face of the franchise. Triple J, Jaron Jackson Jr.,
Mhm.
Zach Eady, Desmond Bain, OG Jackson. I think the first or the second.
Mhm.
Santi Al how you pronounce his name?
Aldama.
Aldama, Luke Kennard. Oh, Scottie Pippen Jr. I forgot about him. Brandon Clark. I think Marvin Bagley. Did he get signed with them? I think Marvin Bagley might be on the team. I don't know.
You can write
Uh,
it
um, oh, John Moran's best friend. Oh, that Chinese Asian guy, Yoku, whatever his name is, Kwama.
down.
Yeah, I don't know. You know how I meant
I'll
Yoku,
give
the
it
5'9"
Yuki,
guy.
Yuki, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah.
15
Uh,
seconds.
I don't know. Jalen Wells is he still on the team? Jalen Wells, and I don't know about the rest. I don't know.
All right. You got, let's see, 12.
Okay.
I don't know if Marvin Bagley is on the team. It doesn't
No.
seem like I'm gonna check though, of course, but let's
I thought he
see.
got traded. I knew he got traded. I thought he went there.
Oh, he is. Okay.
I
That's something
knew
I
he got
forgot.
traded. Let's
Okay.
go.
So that's my fault. Good pull because I wouldn't have gotten that then. Let's see some guys maybe you forgot. Hard. Jay Huff.
Who the hell is that? Jay Huff.
Big
I don't know
man,
who that is.
big man. Vince Williams.
Oh, okay.
That's really it. I mean, yeah, Vince Williams, and then a lot of these guys are new or so. Yeah. You
Okay.
12. So that's good.
Oh, not
Again,
bad. Not bad.
Memphis had some roster turnaround, so that's
Yeah.
pretty good. I think that might out of the 4 teams that we have done, it is your lowest, but it's still 12, so who cares?
Not bad.
But
Not bad. Take
uh,
that any day of the week.
so yeah, there we go. That was a good episode. We'll come back next week. We'll do our power forwards. It will be next week.
Yes.
Well, we won't hopefully have a big gap again, but yeah, we'll come back with our power forwards. We'll come back with more things to talk about as the week goes on, and almost done with these positions, ranking these positions. Power
Mhm.
forwards got some heavy hitters, so
Yeah.
that's gonna be one of the most stacked positions, them in point guard. So but yeah, good
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah, good episode. Again, don't forget to check us out on our social media, Hoops All In on Instagram, TikTok, and X. Also, check out Keith's personal YouTube channel, Keith HAI. So go subscribe, follow, and like that. For World's Francois, Keith Bazin signing off. And also, don't forget to listen to our podcast on the audio version on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, iHeartRadio, wherever you stream your weekly podcast. We are on there. So for World's Francois, Keith Bazin signing off. We'll be back here next week for another episode of Hoops All In.